we as people. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill some roles. I see our Toastmaster is Mr. J.E. Austin. All right. Who can be the timer? Do I have a timer? Thank you, Susie.
I've messed this rule up so many times, but I will not mess it up today.
And you know the role, right?
I know the role.
If you could explain it to people.
I'll be timing the speeches. Do we have table topics today?
If we have time, we'll
If we,
add it.
okay, it's not a.
Subject to availability.
Subject to availability. And Dawn, how much time will you need for your speech?
It is scheduled for 30 to 40.
30 to 40, and so I will show the green at 30, or is that right? And the yellow at
35.
35 and the red at 40. Very good. And then if we do table topics, 1 minute 32.
Wow, you.
15 minutes
You
leeway,
got it,
15
sister.
seconds leeway on each side.
I don't know how you can say you screwed that up. You did that perfect.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the part where you actually time the people, that's. These speakers are
All
Do we have a grammarian?
so good. Grammar time.
I can grammar.
All right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Roll
good.
the
All
grammar.
right, it is
Tell us
now.
about the grammarian. Grammarian?
As grammarian, I will be noting any cool or obscene uses of the English language,
Oh, that's.
and then we will talk about them afterwards.
All right.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that was good.
Thank you.
Like that.
All right. Is there an awe counter? Awe.
I can do that if
All right.
necessary.
Elise, tell us about the awe counter.
I, as JD calls it, will be the Wizard of Oz, which I love.
I love that.
However, that'll only be if we have table topics because Dawn is doing a speech, so we won't be clicking him. If we have table topics, I will click you if you say so, but, pause, or any other obscene pauses.
Wow.
To go with the obscene
Obscene.
grammarian. Yes.
Here's
So.
the word of thank you.
Ooh, that
And the word of the day appears to be carp. To find or to complain chorously. Quarrel.
What is that word? Carelessly?
Quarrelous.
Quarrel. Quarrel.
Get a quarrel.
Like, I don't even know if that word means.
Let's not get in a quarrel.
Querulous.
Query, so it's like a query,
Like that.
asking a question.
Oh, really?
All right, without further ado, if he's ready, let's bring up our Toastmaster, the man who makes the trains run on time, Mr. J.D.
All right, JD.
Sir, I do see we have one more role we need to fill for evaluator 1, who will give some feedback on Don's speech. Do we have a volunteer for speech evaluator? James, it is. I'll go ahead and be the general evaluator. Reviewing the agenda to see if there was any part we missed earlier. I do note that we missed the thought of the day, which comes from Stephen Covey, who once said, "I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions."
Nice.
It is now time to introduce our first speaker for today, Don Griffith. Excuse me, not Don Griffith. There's another very great Toastmaster named Don Griffith. You look nothing like him, but you're great like him too. Don Ratliff is a businessman, part-time Santa, and father of 3. He joined Toastmasters 8 years ago and became a member of Fearless Speakers a year and a half ago. Today, Don will be doing a presentation from the Success Communication series entitled The Art of Effective Communication. The time for our speech is 30 to 40 minutes, and it's the last project that Don needs to complete to receive his Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Let's give that. Please help me welcome Don Ratliff, The Art of Effective Communication.
appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you giving up this amount of time on a meeting. It means a lot to me, as was mentioned, it is the last requirement I have to receive the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. And I'm so grateful to be able to make that happen here with you. So fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, you know, when I joined Toastmasters 8 years ago, it took me a long time before I was able to work up the courage to sign up to do my first evaluation role. And the thought that went through my head was, who am I to evaluate the speech of a speaker that was most likely going to be more accomplished than I was at that time? How many of you have had that thought when you get ready to evaluate some speaker, thinking, wow, who am I? And it took me quite some time before it ever sank in that when we're doing an evaluation, what we're actually doing, if it's done properly, is we're just giving our opinion of what we heard. And you don't have to be an authority to give your opinion. You tell the speaker, in essence, what you liked and perhaps what you would like to have heard when they gave their speech. And I think that when we can look at it from that perspective, I think it makes it a lot easier to do. Because we don't have to be an authority, we don't have to be a better speaker than that person. We're just giving our opinion, and we do so in a constructive manner. What we want to do is to encourage them and uplift them and want them to come back. And so this morning what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a presentation that's called the Art of Effective Evaluation. What I'm going to do is kind of give you some insights why speaker evaluation is important. And then at the very end of my presentation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk through the steps in the process that I take when I'm doing an evaluation. Perhaps you'll find that helpful. I had planned on using the PowerPoint presentation, and because of technical difficulties, I won't be using it. And quite honestly, it'll probably be better that I'm not having to work with it, because it would be just a distraction. So effective speech evaluation benefits everyone. It benefits the speaker, it benefits the evaluator, and it also benefits the club. I think it might be obvious why it would benefit the speaker. The speaker gets feedback, and from that feedback, that speaker can grow and learn and improve. Susie, I heard you just a moment ago talking about the feedback that you got from Roman and Justine, and that you were able to use it, you know, effectively, not just here in this room, but out there in the real world. And isn't that what it's all about? So I think that's a perfect example of how it benefits, but it also benefits the club, because when we're giving proper evaluations to a speaker, it encourages them, and it helps the club, because we are more likely to retain members and help our members grow. And that's what we want to do here in Fearless Speakers and any Toastmaster Club. We want to help our members grow. We want to help our members accomplish whatever it is that they are looking to accomplish. Now, the objectives of this presentation this morning is to help us recognize the value of effective speech evaluation, and to discover ways in which we can improve our evaluation skills, both individually and as a club. What I want to cover now is why people want to learn to speak. And this part I really want to be interactive. So I'm going to be asking you to give me feedback and suggestions and thoughts on these particular points. So one of the reasons that people want to learn to speak is to develop skills. So if you would give me some examples of how speaking, you know, and developing the skills could help us in the real world. Susie, I think you were just alluding to how that helped you. You were more confident when you did your presentation because you were a more confident speaker. Is that correct?
Yes, and for a number of years I've been teaching online, so I was thinking to myself, I really don't need to do any speeches anymore. Those days are kind of behind me, and I never did that many. And I think that Toastmasters helps us prepare before we need the skills. And as it turns out now, I took a job that I did get that job, it's totally unexpected. I never thought I would apply for a job like this, and it's going to involve a lot of public speaking. So,
That's a perfect example.
just be ready.
And I think in the context that you just mentioned, you know, be ready is, I think sometimes, and I've certainly been guilty of it, is waited until I needed something and then it's too late.
Right.
You know, by having that confidence and having those skills in advance, gives you opportunity for those unexpected opportunities when they arise. Give you the opportunity to say yes instead, oh no, I couldn't do that. Any other ideas where developing skills could be important? JD?
As sad as it is, people make decisions and form an opinion about you based on the way that you present yourself. And for me, that was particularly important because I'm not a normal person. I joined Toastmasters because I had 4 client meetings in a row that went really badly, and I realized that it was something I had to do. I didn't have a choice, and I had no hope whatsoever in business if I didn't learn to speak and present myself better. And it's been night and day since I joined Toastmasters. I'm not focusing as much on my business as I should. However, when I need to get in front of people and speak, I do well, and it's because of Toastmasters. And there's no way I could have taught for 5 years without having done this.
And if I could, you said you didn't have a choice. You actually did have a choice. And you made the choice to
I
do
didn't
so.
have a choice to keep going in my business. It was either focus on those skills and go crazy, or just give it up.
And that's where you are today. Anyone else? Thoughts on why we would want to develop skills?
Just a second on that, just building a business, building a career. I got invited onto 2 podcasts this week,
Wow.
which really urged me to come here more frequently. Yeah, I wasn't sure how that was going to show up in my business, but it's showing up now. Yeah.
Well, I'll share a story since that kind of segues on that. There was a number of years ago, I was starting a nonprofit organization called the Yes I Can Project. And I had a friend of mine who had a internet radio program, and she had worked with me in the Yes I Can Project. And she was getting ready to close down her podcast, and she asked me, she says, Don, I'd like to have you be the last guest on my program. And even though I had developed a little bit more confidence and a little bit more skill speaking, I don't think I had joined Toastmasters yet, but I had a little bit more confidence than I had previously. And it was interesting, the dialogue that went off inside my head. The first thing that went off inside my head the moment I heard that is, she doesn't know who you are, you can't do that. And I heard that, and it surprised me. And I hit myself on the head and I said, I'd be happy to. And I'm happy to report that with that increased level of confidence, I was able to do that program, and it actually went much better than I would have imagined. You know, so developing skills is an important part of why people come to Toastmasters. The next point is material rewards. So what type of material rewards might someone be seeking when they come to Toastmasters? JD.
I've seen quite a few people come through, and it seemed like they're seeking credentials so that they can put on their resume. It's sad that a lot of times those people quit before they really reach their potential. But I do see a lot of people coming because you get a good feeling when you achieve the awards, especially the first time. I remember I achieved my Competent Communicator in the old program, and the new Pathways program has new awards, which are interesting, and they're more business oriented, so that I could see maybe people would want to achieve them.
Anyone else? Material rewards? Elise.
I can imagine that some people may have a job promotion or a raise in mind if they are willing to take on some speaking responsibilities with their job. I've heard of people mention that before.
Well, you know, not having worked in the corporate world, it was interesting. I was at a Toastmaster event earlier this year, and I remember hearing someone talk about one of the benefits of Toastmasters is that when you're in the corporate world, you know, your supervisor, your manager, your boss is very likely going to be looking for people to step up and take leadership. And so many people, when they're faced with that, out of a lack of confidence, are going to say, or not say anything at all. And those that have more confidence, who develop communication skills, are more likely to say yes, give them the opportunity for advancement. So material awards can certainly come as a result of what we develop here at Toastmasters. The next point is earn credit towards recognition. Anyone have an example of what kind of recognition that someone might be seeking by becoming a Toastmaster?
I think maybe, not to say that you're doing it for this, but to achieve a DTM, that's the highest level you can go in Toastmasters, so I look up to people who have achieved that.
And you're right, I didn't come to Toastmasters for that purpose. In fact, when I first started, I didn't really believe I would ever complete my competent communication manual. It wasn't important to me. But as a result of Toastmasters and some of the things that have taken place in Toastmasters, it did become important to me. And so part of this is that process of growth and things that I wouldn't have ever dreamed being capable of doing or wanting to do now as a result of that confidence and capability and growth now have become important. The next step is building self-esteem and self-confidence. I think those are really big things, at least they have been in my life. Would anybody like to talk about self-esteem or self-confidence that you may have seen in yourself or seen in somebody else as a result of Toastmasters? JD?
Before I joined Toastmasters, I really didn't talk a lot to people at work. I kind of just came to work and worked for 10 hours straight. I didn't chit chat, I didn't participate in anything, in meetings, I didn't speak up. And I didn't intend to change that because I'm a hardcore introvert. But because of my experience at Toastmasters, I got comfortable speaking up more. And in fact, someone came to me about 3 months after I started and said, "You're different." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You never came out of your cube before. You never talked to me. I thought you didn't even like me." And it was because of coming to Toastmasters.
Well, I know for myself, I find it much easier now to engage in conversations one-on-one with people as a result of the skills that I've developed in Toastmasters. And so for me, that's really been a very big one, is building self-esteem and self-confidence. And the final point that I have here on this printout is make a difference in the world. James, I'll call you out on this one. And I'm not sure how Toastmasters has helped with your vision of what you want to accomplish by making a difference, but I suspect it has. If you would tell us about how Toastmasters may have affected your trajectory toward making a difference in the world.
Well, it helped me generate the idea, and it helped me see things in other people. I always go back to what Maya Angelou said, where people will forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And if you can make somebody feel something, they'll crawl through glass for you. And I noticed that in a lot of people, that they just talk. And say, and it's helped me formulate my true business idea of where I can help people in the most sense. And I'll be talking about that very, very soon, because the idea is just up in here and it's rolling out eventually. And I think, on a personal note, that's why I have to hit this bottom part so that I can be leveled back up and see the true, clear vision. And that's why I embrace what's going on with me right now. And leaning back in my car out there, and like, hey, this is not too bad. And looking at that and seeing that stuff, and just with faith and believing and carrying on, and being able to show people that they can carry on, and they can replace fear with faith. Have fear, and as we know, fear is false evidence appearing real. And to be able to go forward in that sense and have a direction and a path and know that is your purpose. So really, this place helped me find my purpose.
Well, a thought that just came to me is we can allow the circumstances to break us or to make us.
Amen.
Our choice. So, how self-esteem helps us become better speakers? So self-esteem fuels personal growth. Self-esteem fuels personal growth. The feedback reinforces the personal growth. Personal growth nourishes self-esteem. And the more self-esteem generates more growth, so it's a circle. And it's a never-ending circle as long as we stay on that merry-go-round. When we're in Toastmasters, we gain confidence, we get nourishment, it just keeps building and building and building as long as we stay on the ride. And JD, as you alluded to, some people leave before they've accomplished everything that could have been. And so, again, it goes right back to the value of why speaker evaluations are so important, is we help nourish, encourage, and if it's done in a proper way, encourage them to stay in. JD, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I wanted to make a point about self-esteem. A lot of society kind of thrives on empty self-esteem that isn't based on anything real. And the difference between that and this is that people improve and they get real self-esteem by that actual true improvement, not just empty words. And to me, that's what real self-esteem is, not the give everyone a trophy for just showing up kind of self-esteem.
Okay. The next point is how to nourish self-esteem when you evaluate. First point, and I think this is extremely important, is to be genuine. No matter how the speaker did, I think it's critical that we find some way to give our feedback and be genuine about it. Even if somebody had what they thought maybe was a total flop, froze, couldn't figure out what they want to do, we can be genuine and say, wow, what courage that took. And one of the most courageous experiences I ever saw at Toastmasters a number of years at my other club is one of the, in fact, I think she was the president, or ultimately became president. She got up and she froze. And you could see on her face that she was terrified and embarrassed by having her brain freeze. And she couldn't continue and she went and sat down. One of the members went and encouraged her to get back up. And she did. And she was able to finish her speech, and she finished it with power. And having had that encouragement led her to eventually become president and an amazing speaker. So that being genuine and encouragement is an important part of how we can nourish self-esteem. The next point is recognize the speaker's strengths. Whatever strengths that you see when the speaker's up here, give them feedback about that. Whether they had good eye contact, vocal variety, powerful voice, something you can find about the speaker that they did well. Give them feedback about that, recognize their strengths. Next point is recognize their improvement. So we all start in Toastmasters at the level that we start at. Some people, like James, were already quite accomplished in their speech. And there were people like myself who had, at least in my own mind, had very poor speaking skills. But still, my fellow Toastmasters were able to find things about what I was doing to recognize it, and they recognized the improvement as I went along. Here's one that's so important, is to avoid value judgments. You can tell us what value judgments are.
Maybe if things are right or wrong.
I'm not sure what it means. I'm seeking help up here.
I think your example from a previous meeting when you said I don't should on people
Okay.
is a good
That's good.
way to put that.
I think a judgment to me is, when I hear the word judgment, it's something that's more critical as opposed to something that's supportive and positive feedback. And the next point is provide positive feedback. I think that's a great way to help nourish self-esteem. So there are 10 behaviors I'm going to list now of an effective evaluator. Number one is to show that you care. Number two is to suit your evaluation to the speaker. Number three is to learn the speaker's objectives. I think that's so important. Now, the manuals typically have objectives that they want us to accomplish when we give a speech. But beyond that, I think it's really important to find out what the speaker's objectives are, not just as an evaluator, but as a club member. And as I was developing this presentation, one of the things that I thought was, I don't think I have ever been asked objectives are in Toastmasters, because they don't necessarily line up with what the manual might expect. For a lot of people, I believe the manuals lean to want to make you a very polished speaker, to be able to give a presentation very effectively and fluidly, use proper grammar. For me, the most important reason from day one and still is not to be the most polished speaker, to be able to stand up here mostly extemporaneously and deliver something from my heart, and to have the confidence and the belief in myself that I could do that. So my purpose didn't necessarily line up. So I think it's important as an evaluator, but also as club members, to find out at the core, what does this member want from his or her Toastmaster experience? The next step in the behaviors of an effective evaluator is to listen actively. And that's one of the skills that we develop when we're doing evaluation, is we need to learn to listen more effectively and more actively, and then to be able to very shortly give that feedback on what it was that we heard. Personalize your language. Give that speaker feedback in your own language, not necessarily just the standard Toastmaster lingo. Number 6 is to give positive reinforcement. At least give me an example of what positive reinforcement might look like when you're given an evaluation.
Emphasizing the points that the speaker did well, to boost them up and let them know that they had some things that they did really well.
Susie?
Well, that just made me think that we want to do two things. We do want to fill any gaps that we feel we have as speakers, but most importantly, we want to build on our strengths and to make the main focus about that. It's the same thing in learning in school, I think. You learn the subjects that you need, but you come to know yourself and you know your strengths, and that's where you're going to excel. So that should be the main focus, while ironing out all the little wrinkles that are in other places as well. It's where the hope is where everything comes from.
Thank you. Number 7 is to build a motivational climate. So motivational climate, I guess when we're in here and as a group, collectively, we're supporting and encouraging. I think that's what I hear when I think the word motivational climate. Number 8, and this is an important one, evaluate behavior, not people. You want to evaluate what it was they did. There was a member at the other club that I belonged to, when she was early into her Toastmaster experience, gave an evaluation, and she was, I didn't actually see it, but I heard about it, that she was kind of tearing down the other person because of what that person was wearing. In this environment, we come however we are. We come casual, we come dressed, whatever. So dressing somebody's apparel, I don't think is an appropriate way to evaluate.
Don, can I make a
Yes,
comment about
absolutely.
that? I do agree with what you say, but on the presentation that I did, and then I went to give it at my college, there were comments about my apparel, that I should dress up more. And part of me, it made me address a belief that I have. And the belief is kind of like people shouldn't be evaluated on their clothing. They should be evaluated on their heart and their mind, especially in education or something like that. And I've always dressed kind of casually at work compared to other people. I'm kind of like not good at dressing. But when I saw those comments, I took them to heart, because I realized I work in a place where people do dress up. And I kind of inside of myself rebel against that. And then I realized, hey, you're going into this place and you're giving a presentation to them. They don't share that belief that I have. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So I did dress up. It's just me dressing up so it doesn't look as good as the other people I think. But I have to tell you, I valued that part of the critique very much. It made me look at my beliefs.
Well, I can differentiate between, giving a presentation in the quote-unquote real world and in here.
Okay, yes.
So that's what I'm talking about, is
Right.
here.
So I think in the real world, your goal is to fit in. So however those people dress like them, which is a good reason why you, before going on a job interview, you should find a way to visit that place and see how people dress. So when you show up, you dress maybe just a tad better than that, but not so much better than that they want to laugh at you when you show up at your interview. And it's really about forming an opinion, because when you first meet people, that's all they have to go on, is how you look and how you speak. And it's not until they know you for a while that they know who you really are.
Sure.
Hang on. That reminds me that you have to feel like yourself. Like I dressed up, but it's still a version of me dressing up that I felt like myself. If I go buy some suit and I'm gonna feel weird, I can't project myself as I really am. And then that comes back to what you said about objectives. And then when you said that we need to, comment on the speaker's objectives, as speakers, we have to remember to tell people our objectives. So I said, hey, I'm going for an interview, and so that
Absolutely.
was appropriate.
It works on both sides. The
Yeah.
speaker should, I never want to use that word, should. The speaker will be more effective if they let their objectives be known.
Yeah.
And when you're working with somebody who is a less experienced Toastmaster, they may not even know inputs. And that's why here, in learning some of the structure of how we can be more effective in our evaluation, let me know what it is that is important to you, or through our questioning, determine what that might be. So moving right along, nourish self-esteem is important over the behavior for an evaluator. And finally, number 10, to show the speaker how to improve. Now, by showing, we do that through positive suggestion. Again, it's our opinion, not that I'm an authority and this is what you need to do. This is my opinion, what would make it more effective. So how we can personalize our language in that vein. So there are 3 ways that I think are effective to say it. So you might say it like this: my reaction was, it appeared to me, or I felt you, fill in the blank. Not like, you should have, you failed to, or your opening was. You see, the first 3 were far more effective. My reaction was, it appeared to me, I felt you. You might say it like, I suggest, I think your next speech would have a stronger impact on me if you, in our opinion. A technique I have found helpful might be something like this, not like, you should, you must, good speakers do it by. You see, there's a completely different tone. Fellow Toastmasters, we're kind of coming to the end of my time, I think, aren't we, Susie?
We are getting close, Don. 2 minutes.
Is that for?
4:30.
For 30. So as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I wanted to share the steps that I take, when I'm doing an evaluation. Something I learned over time. Nobody showed me how to do it, but I found it to be very effective, and for whatever it's worth, I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing whenever I do a speaker evaluation, of course I want to be listening. That's critical. And as I'm listening, I want to be taking notes. So if the speaker says something that catches my attention, whether it's in a positive way or maybe something I want to point out for improvement, I want to jot those down. So I just kind of randomly throughout the speech take those notes. When the speaker has completed their speech, what I want to do is I want to quickly review those, because we know after the speaker speaks, very quickly the evaluator is going to have to come up. Now, in fearless speakers, that can be very, very quickly, because we may only have one speaker. In other clubs, sometimes I've experienced where I've got 10 or 15 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to review those notes, and then I'll kind of quickly pick out the top 3 things that I liked about what the speaker said or did during their presentation. It may not be necessarily what they said. It could also be their eye contact. It could be their vocal variety. So look for 3 things that I want to point out, and let them know that, hey, I really liked how you did this or how you said that. And then I'm going to want to find, if at all possible, at least 1, sometimes 2 areas for suggestions for improvement. Now, this is really a a very vital part of the evaluator's role is look for some suggestions, because just getting positive feedback is nice, but if we're going to grow, I think it's incumbent on us to find areas that we can make suggestions that I think, I would have liked to have heard something of that nature, to help them develop and grow. Now, again, it's just our opinion, so the speaker can take it for what it's worth, but it is an area that we make a suggestion of improvement. And finally, I think this is really critical, is offer praise. No matter how the speaker did, we can find room to praise them for their courage, for their, how they have grown and improved. Always find a way to praise the speaker for what he or she did during their speech. They took time to prepare it, hopefully. They had the courage to stand up in front of the group to deliver it. So find ways to offer praise. Fellow Toastmasters, I hope that you found this presentation helpful, because in a club, speaker evaluation is an important part of helping our speakers grow. And isn't that what we're here to do, is to help everybody grow? Find out what the speaker's objectives are, not just for that particular speech, but also why are they here in Toastmasters. And in doing so, I think we can help our membership grow and our club will remain strong and viable. With that, let me turn it back to my Toastmaster for the meeting, Jamie. Thank you.
Big day,
It's a
Mr.
big
Rock.
day, that's what I was
Big
just
day.
thinking.
Madam Timer, you have 2 minutes for evaluations.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Looking at the clock, we're probably not gonna have time for tabletop.
We have time for snacks though.
Snacks.
I'm gonna miss out on those.
Circus peanuts.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
Which makes me wonder, do they have those at the circus? Or did someone just make that up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Shall I Google that?
Because everyone knows there's no truth in advertising.
That is true.
If it says it's heart smart, it means it's gonna kill you.
Good
If
point.
it says a healthy source of, it means there's something else in there you don't want to eat.
Mhm.
I have a thought. Since we will not likely have time for table topics, I have something that would only take a couple minutes and that we could all participate.
Ooh.
We'll do that after we evaluate.
One more minute for evals. That's 2.
It is now time to introduce our evaluator for today. James Murr, I am sure, will not find a way to carp on this speech. Please welcome.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, and especially Don, thank you for the gift of this speech. One of the most impressive things that you started out with was, who am I? Very humbling moment, and I know your character is being a very humble person, and I appreciate that. And this is very important that this was the speech that put you over the top, because it's very much your style, it's very much your character, and how you value other people. I love the interactive gave thoughts and provoked thoughts in us and why we're here. It was more than just an evaluation speech, it was a Lardy Peer speech. And I think we all need to think about, why are we here? Not just in this room, but here. And that's what provoked in me. I like that you drew the triangle between speaker, evaluator, and club. I felt we could hear a little more about how it benefits the evaluator and the club as well. Although I think those things are natural, but to hear them from you would have been great as well. The interactive made it really personal. And as I said before, one of the things that sticks out for me, and that's why I think this was one of your best speeches, it's your style. And when you talked about evaluation, you said be genuine and authentic, and that's you. Because I've told you many, many times, and you as well. You're one of the most authentic, genuine people I've ever met in my entire life. And this was one of the most authentic, genuine speeches I've seen anybody ever give. I like that you were very adaptable when we didn't have the PowerPoint. Very adaptable, and I enjoyed it more with the way you did it than with the PowerPoint. Sometimes pictures can be distracting, and a lot of people will pay attention to charts and pictures and not listen at this point. You said nourish self-esteem. I think we all know that that's one of the reasons why we're here. Recognize the speaker's strengths, and yours are many. You have that very Santa conversational style, which I really, really enjoy. It's like you should be reading children's books to kids and such. One of the things that brought out the way you carried this, the way you were interactive, and the way you led is one of the things I watched on a Les Brown video, and that was this. It talks about an army of sheep led by a lion will always defeat an army of lions led by a sheep. And I think today you were that lion leading us sheep. Because now we know fully, and especially important was the fact, because the evaluation contest is coming up very, very soon, Susie.
Yeah.
And to know how to give a better evaluation. This completes a circle, if you will, of what I was told evaluations were, and that is, thank you for giving me the permission to make you a better speaker. And you complete that fully and entirely in spades. I like that you brought down 10 points, because oftentimes people will forget the full point, but they'll remember the words. And what I wrote down was show, suit, learn, listen, personalize, reinforcement, build, behavior versus people, nourish, show, suggest. And those are easier to remember, and those are the things we can take back, and when we do our evaluations, we can remember those things. I'm very grateful that you gave this speech, and I think we're all better evaluators for it. And so, mission accomplished, and congratulations on being a distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Madam Timer, can we have a timer's report, please?
Yes, Don requested 30 to 40 minutes, and his speech was 31 minutes and 11 seconds. I believe we started the meeting kind of on time. I don't know, forgot to notice. And we're wrapping up at the appropriate time, which is awesome.
Elise, can we actually, Roman was a good one.
Grammar time.
Grammar.
Grammar
We all did pretty good, so I'm not gonna harp on anyone too hard.
Oh, it's easy.
JD used the word of the day, good job. I didn't hear it other than that. Don, excellent speech, and congrats on becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. One thing that I noticed is at the very beginning you said you're going to show us the steps and the process. It's redundant. Something I really liked that you did was you showed us the power of our words and how you can say the same thing in different ways in our evaluations especially, and how it can be taken so much differently depending on how you say it. So you were pointing out that we shouldn't say things like you should, you must, and to say it in a gentler way. James, you said crawl through glass, as if someone will crawl through glass for you. Yeah, that's cool. That's everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Elise, do you have an Ockenders report?
I certainly do not.
Do not.
I do not. You reminded me, as you did your own little clicking over there, James had a few ahs. However, I was late to the party with my clicker, so.
I was listening, everyone did fairly well today. I didn't hear, other than some double clutches from Dawn and ahs from James, I didn't hear any ahs today. Did anyone else hear any?
No, I didn't.
Very good. Please take a moment to vote for best speaker, best evaluator, and spark plug. And someone who brought a little extra spark to the meeting. Who's
Everybody
counting?
get one? Everybody get one? Oh, I did not. Here. Here, Arlene.
Who's the counter?
So excited.
Don, would you count?
Sure.
Pass them on down to Don. It's now time for general summation of the meeting as general evaluator. I like today's meeting. I thought that Don adjusting the project to fit within the meeting time worked well. I liked that he was very interactive with his speech. Generally in Toastmasters, when you do a long speech and in real life, I often tell people use the 5-minute rule and make sure that every 5 minutes you do something interactive with the audience or they will just tune out. And Don did that very well today. He called on the audience. He got good feedback and examples from the audience. I thought he did really well. James, you did a good example in your evaluation. Pardon me. I loved your Les Brown quote. I thought that was very good. And overall, I thought today's meeting was very nice. Or did you already count?
I am ready to go.
All right, we have a minute to go, so I'm going to turn it over to our presiding officer, and he can get the count from
Actually, I'll announce it, if that's okay.
All right, great meeting, and let's have the announcement.
All right, best speaker, Dawn. Best evaluator, JD. And for spark plug,
James. James was the evaluator.
I'm sorry,
Pardon me for.
thank you for correcting me. It began with a J,
Yeah.
my bad. But it was an excellent evaluation, so my bad on making a miscall on that. And
It
for,
happens to be my middle initial.
oh, okay. There we go.
That's right, James Dean.
And it still works.
So for spark plug, there were a number of votes for a number of people, so I'm declaring that we are all today's spark plug.
We're all plugged in.
Wow.
The 2-minute thing, what I would like us to do, if you're willing to do so, is talk about what we're grateful for as a result of Toastmasters. Our relationships, self-confidence, whatever it is that you're grateful for as a result of Toastmasters. And Susie, take it away.
Wow. Today, what's in the back of my mind is how far I need to go. And I remember one time the governor of the district visited this Toastmasters club that I attended in downtown Phoenix, and she said, "You might not think much of the way my abilities now, but I've come so far," and I kind of feel the same way. I wish I had started earlier, and I wish I had come further, but I've progressed a lot, and I enjoy the process as much as the goals. That's a big part of it. The camaraderie and the support and just the genuine caring, and I am just eternally grateful to all of you. This might be a good time to say that I have this will be my last meeting. I'll start my new job on Monday, and it's on Thomas and 35th Ave. So I found a club that might work for me, but I haven't visited. So, but I'm always grateful.
Our loss, their gain.
My loss of you all, but I'll keep in contact. Thank you so much for your time and effort and caring.
We're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
JD.
I really am grateful for how Toastmasters changed my mindset about myself. I used to believe that I couldn't do a lot of things. And now that I've done more than that, I now say I don't know what I can't do because I've done so many things that I thought were impossible for me. And much like your example, I have a long way to go, but compared to where I started, I feel pretty good about it.
Elise.
Because of Toastmasters, I have a whole lot more self-confidence when it comes to speaking. And I am not afraid to take on opportunities that come my way that involve speaking. I shared with you all a couple of weeks ago that I was given an opportunity to go speak at a group at a lunchtime that potentially was going to be a very large group. It turned out to be quite small. However, I didn't flinch to say no. And the old me years ago, prior to Toastmasters, would have been way too afraid to say yes to that. And I see how much that these opportunities will further my personal growth as well as bring opportunities for my career. So it's very exciting that I don't have that fear. And that's not to say that I don't get a little bit nervous when I'm starting a speaking engagement, but it's nothing like I had before. And in fact, I welcome it. I don't really get nervous. I just have a little bit of butterflies, but it's more of an excitement than in the past it would have been very fearful. So I'm super grateful that I have the confidence to say yes to pretty much anything that comes my way.
So I want to piggyback on that. Basically the same thing. So much more confidence in my speaking. I feel like I went from a mask of confidence to actually feeling confident within. And I can tell very recently is kind of when I made this realization, I can tell that other people can see that because all of a sudden I'm having a lot of opportunities come my way. Like I told you guys, I had 2 requests to be featured on podcasts this week, and I just got another message this morning to be interviewed in someone's group. So now that I can see that other people can see that, it's also helping me feel more confident. But I don't think if I couldn't feel it within, then people wouldn't see it. Yeah.
Christine.
I'm grateful that you guys have still let me be a guest. Yeah, I'm gonna sign up soon, but yeah, I'm just grateful that I'm allowed to speak. Well, except for today, but every time I've come, I've been able to do table topics, which is great, and it makes me wake up early, which is nice. So yeah, I'm just thankful that you guys allow me to be here.
You realize you were just given a chance to speak. James.
I'm grateful for each and every one of you. It's often said that it's not what you say, it's the people who you say it with and who say things to you. And outside of this room, I'll share a moment with a Toastmaster that I haven't shared before. But my contest speech was called Untie Your Knot. It's about the knot I put around my neck 10 years ago and how that affected me and how that changed my life. And we had a Jeff Marut come and watch that speech. The week I gave that speech is the week his son hung himself.
Who did?
And Jeff told me about this. And he thanked me. And he wished that I would be able to give that speech to people to show them that they can make that choice and not do that. It's in those moments, those personal moments, where we realize that there's a purpose outside these doors. There's a moment you can literally save someone's life with speaking. The Bible says there's the power of the tongue. It can bring life to death and death to life. And when you're speaking to people, that literally is true. Literally. And so it's those moments I'm grateful for. Don.
I don't know if I'm going to see myself, but I'm grateful for each and every one of you, what you have given to me. James, how touching what you just said was. You inspire me with your ability to communicate, deeply from your heart, and the feedback that each one of you have given me and supported me and allowed me to come here today and to do that final step and to pretty much take up the entire meeting, to do something. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate the warmth and the love that I felt here, in this meeting today. So it was perfect, and I'm so grateful to be able to share this experience, every Tuesday or most every Tuesday with Elise, to give us something that we have together in common, to work together. And I would just reiterate, that the things that Toastmaster has given me, I don't know, I think most of you know that I'm a JFK assassination nerd, and I'm on the board of directors for the JFK Assassination Conference. And this past couple weeks ago, I was able to actually be the MC and introduce 35 speakers, people who I look up to and admire, and witnesses and researchers and authors. And I was given an opportunity that has never happened before. I was told earlier when I was attempting to get somebody to be able to come and speak that they didn't allow anyone who wasn't an author, a researcher, or a witness to speak at that conference. And yet I was given a half an hour to tell my story, my journey to the truth, as it was titled. And it would not have happened. I would not have had any of those opportunities had it not been for the confidence that I gained as a result of Toastmasters. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you. With that, let me turn it back to Mr. President.
All right. I think in this time and in this season, the attitude of gratitude is what should carry us. It's not about what you get, it's about what you give. With that, meeting adjourned.
All right.